Hello Stampers! I've got a fishy type scene for you today, and I'm using the beautiful new Beauty of the Deep stamp set from Stampin' Up today. And I decided that I wanted to create a scene in which the fish are kind of like swimming in a circle, enjoying the light that's coming through the water. So this is what I came up with, and I hope you enjoy this project. We're going to get going with our main panel today, and you can find all the dimensions for the panels down below this video. Just click Show More, and you'll see them there along with all the product links that will take you directly to my online store. We're going to be using a basic white panel that's 3 7/8 square. And then we're going to bring in probably our lightest color, which is wild wheat. And I'm using some wild wheat in this scene. As you see this here, there's some wild wheat back here. And it kind of radiates that there's light coming through with that yellow. So we're going to use a blending brush for this, and I'm only using the tip of the brush when I'm doing this whole scene. I'll be just using the tip of the brush, and that's all that I'm putting the ink on there. And I'm just kind of starting in the center, and I'm just going to make like little swoosh marks, and I'm not connecting the whole thing, and I want this to radiate out, but I'm not connecting all of the pieces. You see that there? And that's what I'm doing. So just think of a spiral, only you're only going to lift your brush up every now and then to create that spiral. So that was the wild wheat. Then we're going to go to our next color. And I'm going to bring in some Coastal Cabana. It's hard to do an ocean scene without Coastal Cabana. That's a great watercolor. Again, I'm using the tip here, and I'm going to do that same thing. Continue lifting the brush up, and just add pieces of the spiral in here. I'm going to get darker and darker with this. So there is our Coastal Cabana in there. And it's okay that it's light. We don't want to get too dark, else our fish won't show up. Our next color is going to be Azure Afternoon. Pretty, pretty blue color. Again, we're using the tip here. And I'm going to add some of this in here. Just like that. And then I'm going to go to a darker color yet. And we're going to use Night of Navy here. I'm going to use the tip here again. And we want some of that Night of Navy out here on the outside a bit. This is just a fun little background. Just remember, you're trying to make a spiral here. So you just want to kind of keep making like swoosh marks just to get that spiral going. All right, so there that is. You can always go back in with a color. Like I'm thinking I want some more Coastal Cabana in there. So you can just pull that color back out. And since we have all these other darker colors in, we can start just adding Coastal Cabana in here like this. I'm just doing a circular motion, and you can actually pretty much go over the whole thing. I do want to leave some of that white area in the center though. So there's our Coastal Cabana. And that kind of just blends things together a bit too, don't you think? All right, so there is that. And then we have this little dotted stamp, and it's in the Beauty of the Deep stamp set. It's right here. This has such great images in it. We're going to be using this fish, these dots, and then we're going to be using these two stamps here just to show like some coral going on the edges. So I'm going to use this dotted stamp, and I'm going to follow that spiral with this stamp. So I'm just going to start in the center here, and I'm following along with that spiral, going around and around with it. And that kind of helps that spiral kind of pop off the page a bit too, because you're keeping on going. When you get up here to where your spiral's like going off the page, you can just do the corners then. There we go. And see how that kind of defines that spiral a bit? Those dots do. So that was Memento Tuxedo Black that I did the dots in. And we're going to continue with that color here, and we're going to put our fish in. And I want our fish to be swimming towards the center. So I'm going to start with my spiral like up here, and I'm going to place my first fish right at the end of that spiral, like right in the center. And then I'm going to just keep on going around the spiral with my fish. You don't have to have them real close together. There we go. And the fish are just kind of following each other around and around. Again, we're going to go off the page a bit here. This is just kind of a fun project. Something a little different. Okay, so there's our fish going around in a spiral. So we have that done. And now I'm going to color my fish in before I go any further. Just cover my ink pad there so I don't put my hand in it. And I have my pumpkin pie Stampin' Blend markers here. And I'm going to start by just coloring in my fish. This is the light pumpkin pie, and I'm coloring the whole fish in with this. Every fish. I love this kind of bright pumpkin pie because it helps bring those fish really to life. Now, I'm not taking a whole lot of time coloring these, especially these outside fish, because they're going to be covered up a bit with the coral that we're going to be putting in. So I'm just coloring them in quickly. Oh, missed that one. There we go. I think I got them all. All right, and that was light pumpkin pie. So we're going to put in some dark pumpkin pie here. And I'm just using the bullet tip for this. And I'm just going to color the front of the fish. There's a dark area right at the front. And that's what I'm coloring in with that dark pumpkin pie. Just to give a little bit of detail in our fish here. I love that Stampin' Blends come with the two colors, the dark and the light. You can hardly go wrong with using the two colors together. Of course, they work perfectly together. And it's a no-brainer. There we go. So there is our fish. They're two-toned now. And now I think we need some coral on here. And I want the coral to be all the way around the edges. And I'm going to start with my largest piece here. I've got this great big large one here. This is such a great image. I'll show you this side here. So that's what I'm going to start with. I'm going to put this in 2 of the corners, kind of opposite each other. And these larger stamps, it's easier to load your stamp this way than it is to try to pounce your stamp on the thing, because you can see where your color is going. So I'm going to add this to the edge up here at the top right. Load it back up. And I'm going to do this on the opposite corner, so bottom left now. So there is that. I'm going to need those again. And now we have this coral stamp. And I'm going to use that on the edges that don't have anything yet. You can go right over that other coral that you just put on too. Kind of gives you that layered look. So I just want to round the edges with that. And there is our finished design. Turns out pretty cool, huh? Okay, so that is that panel. And now I'm going to go on to, there's another panel back here. And I want to kind of bring those designs together. So I have another panel here, and this panel is 4 1/4 by 5 1/4. And I'm going to bring in some of that Coastal Cabana and a blending brush. And I'm going to add that Coastal Cabana kind of all around the edges here. You're not going to see a whole lot of this because this big panel is going to be on the top of it. So just think about just kind of the edges showing and like 1 inch on both sides. You just want to make sure you got your color there. And I didn't want to do a Coastal Cabana panel because you don't get that same like molted look to it. Okay, so we have Coastal Cabana on there. And now I'm going to bring in some of that Azure Afternoon. Just going to add some of that here and there, making like spots of it. There we go. So we have Azure and Coastal Cabana. So I just kind of made spots there. And now I'm going to bring my Memento Tuxedo Black back out here. And I'm going to add this big stamped image again. And I'm going to do the same corners I did on the main panel. So I got top right, now I'm going to do bottom left. There we go. And then we have this other piece of coral. And I'm going to add some of this in here. I love this. It's kind of a wicked looking coral. Again, you can go right over that large coral. There we go. Now see, when this comes on top of this, kind of continues that same design because you got that large coral in each corner. All right, so we have those 2 panels. Now I decorated the inside of my card also. So I put in a wild wheat panel here. This is 4 by 5 1/4. And so I'm going to stamp those same 2 images. So while I have them out, I'm going to go ahead and stamp my wild wheat panel. I'm going to use this large coral again. I think it's coral. Maybe it's something else. I don't know. I don't know my marine life very well. So I'm going to stamp this along the bottom here, just on both sides. Okay, and then we have our other little coral here. Just going to add some of this along the bottom here and the sides, just a bit. And then we have plenty of room for sentiment in there. I don't know what sentiment I want to use yet, so I'm leaving mine blank. And then when I know what I'm going to use it for, I will go ahead and finish that off. Okay, we have all our panels stamped, and I want to go put this together. I'm just going to flip my scrap paper there over so I don't get any unwanted spots on my panels. I'm going to start putting this together. So I have a Coastal Cabana card base here, and it is 5.5 by 8.5, and then I folded in half to create my quarter card. And inside I'm going to add my wild wheat panel. And I used wild wheat for the inside just so I can pick up that wild wheat in the front. I'm using multi-purpose glue here, but you can use any adhesive that you like. And this is a landscape card, so it's long and it's wide instead of tall, if you kind of think of it that way. Okay, and then we're going to put this panel here on. This goes together really quickly after you get your stamping done. And this leaves a little bit of the edge showing on our card. So we have that Coastal Cabana showing on the right and left side here. There we go. There is that. And then I want to go ahead and I'm going to add this to a Coastal Cabana panel. Just make sure to see which side I want to put it on here. There we go. And I want to make sure my fish are kind of going the way I want them to. I want that spiral to go this direction. So I'm going to add it on there. You just do whatever you think looks good to you. If you want your spiral going a different way, that's okay. It's your card, right? There we go. I'm going to pop this up using Stampin' Dimensionals. I like to use lots of dimensionals just so my piece stays popped up well. I don't want it caving in the middle or anything like that. If you only put a couple on, you risk it getting all warped looking by the time it gets to its destination. Okay, let's make sure I have my spiral the way I want it. And I'm going to add it to the center of my card here. So I'm just lightly laying this down. Then I'm going to give it a look before I press it all the way. Okay, so that's where I want it, and that's what I'm doing there. So it's good to press it down then. Now I just want a bow on it, and I wanted to bring in that wild wheat, and this is some wild wheat ribbon, textured ribbon, and I'm just going to tie a bow with a little length of it. Make my loop and then go around, pull it through. And I kind of flatten it out before I pull it tight. And then I'm going to play with my ribbon here for a minute. I keep pulling it a little tighter. There we go. Getting it smaller and smaller. Kind of like the look of that. And I like that this is the flat side, so I like that towards the front. Okay, and then I'm going to give these little legs a little trim here. And there's my bow. And to put my bow on, I'm going to use mini glue dots, and I'm putting these on the back. I'm going to add one to the center. Like I said, this is the back side. I'm adding one to the back of each of these loops. And that'll hold it on really well. And then I'm going to just add it to the bottom corner, bottom left corner here. And then I'm just going to poof my little loops up there. And there we have our card for today. I hope you enjoyed this project. It's a lot of fun and it's a little different looking. And I think you'll have fun doing it. So here's the one I just made, and here's the one I made earlier. Thanks for joining me today. Take care. Toodles.